don't see it any other way. I'm too weak to make the climb. I need a miracle this time. That's when.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna Fiesel, and I'm your host of Afternoon Drive Home on IC in Christ Radio. We're your source for news and entertainment. You can also find us on television, channel 182, locally in North Alabama, and that's on Charter Communications, and worldwide. We're so happy to have this. Thank you, Rob Patz, for making this happen. So Abundant TV is also found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We have a guy on the show with us. His name is Dan Looper. And Dan is apparently no stranger in these parts, because on our radio station, ever since we started doing the top, well, it started out, Dan, it's top 10, then we went to top 20, now it's top 25. And because folks are getting a lot of exposure now. So, but you've always maintained up there in the top 10. So congratulations. But I want to tell you this, we don't go through producers or anything like that. Our station is listener driven. So they're the boss of us, and they tell us what to do. And this is how it happens. So if you're listening for the very first time and you're watching Dan right now and you're thinking, man, I want to hear more of his stuff. Easy. All you guys just go to the website, go to icradio.media. And you're going to see a little thing that says, listen, I call it a little thing. I'm not techie. So a little button kind of a thing that says, listen live. Dan's laughing at me. I understand. Phil does the same thing. So you click listen live. And if you have an Apple phone or an Android, you can also download the app. So that's really, and it's free. I'm not charging anything to do this. So then you can go in and let's say you've listened to Dan and you like everything you've heard about the show today about Dan. And you just want to hear some stuff from Dan. Type in his name and it'll give you a list of his songs that we have here at the station. Click it. Now you can't just do like Dan Looper overload, okay? So you can only do 2 an hour. Don't just continue. So 2 an hour, okay? And then you can listen to him all you want to. You can do that. And then what we do on Fridays, we do the top 25 listeners. Listeners pick out the top 25. And then I'll have to tell you, Dan, you're on every week.
Wow. You know what? I've noticed that. Hello, everyone. Donna, that is wonderful. I learned something myself there. That's just really great that you can actually go on to the artist that you like and click on their name and download or listen to 2 songs per hour. Now, I'm all about you binge listening on Dan Looper and mountainsound.com, whatever you want to do. But Donna, that is wonderful. And you are right. We've been blessed with In Christ Radio ever since almost conception of, and you got a hold of me and called me up, and I had no idea that IC Radio was going to be going on, and all of a sudden we did an interview and things just began to pick up, and we have picked up steam for the last couple of years. I know we were in that quarantine state of mind there for a while, but thank the good Lord. Thank the good Lord we're out of that. And hey, I'm glad that you're tuned in listening to IC Radio and Donna Fiesel and Dan Looper discuss whatever it is that we have on the agenda. I'm going to let Donna ask the questions, and hopefully we can find something out that maybe you're interested in.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to talk about your music because I think it's awesome. And I love the sound. It's not really Southern gospel, is it? It's more like country, or, I mean, really, there are different sounds you have. So let's explain those.
I get that asked quite a bit. I was raised in music, gospel music. And so to me, it's just the way we always done it. That's why I call it the mountain sound, because I was raised in the mountains of Tennessee, middle and eastern Tennessee. So over in that area, that's what we did when people gathered up, either at church or at our living room or front porch. You brought whatever instruments you could play and you joined in. And they said you sung by letter. You just open your mouth and you let her fly,
That's what we do too.
We've been asked a lot of times about the genre. Are we Southern gospel? Are we country gospel? Are we country Christian gospel? All that I know is that we use the talent that the Lord gave us, and we kind of lean toward, if you have a listening ear, toward the country side of secular music, yes, that's probably where we would fit. But back in the 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s, we pretty well just had a five-piece band growing up, and that's what we had to play. And I've carried that over. I was raised in music, so I've carried that over. Yes, we lend ourselves toward the country, but people kind of get hung up on that, and they'll be like, well, I don't want to hear this, that, and the other at my church. Listen, we're just church people, and all we do is play good church music. So don't be alarmed or anything like that. But we love playing our music. We love using our talent that God's gave us. My band is so good on their testimonies as well as their ability to play their music.
Uh-huh. Well, I don't know that this station is even the Southern Gospel station, because I mean, like Ricky Luster, and he's got that. Ricky kind of sounds a little bit like who does he sound? He sounds like Lionel Richie. He's got that sound. Yeah. And then we got you, and I mean, it's like they love, and you and Ricky are consistently on the top 10. I mean, all the time.
He's a good friend. He and I crossed paths and sung many times together on stage back when he was with Charles Johnson and the Revivers, and his brother Daryl were there as well. And Daryl's a great singer as well. And Ricky and I have sung a lot together, and not lately. And so we've been talking or chatting on social media sometimes about, man, we need to get something together. But and who knows, maybe IC Radio will put us together, some kind of singing in the park here before long, and we'll get some of those top 10 groups in that area.
Well, it's going to happen. Great. Everybody wants Ricky to come back, and they're wanting you. And so it's going to be this. It's always the second Saturday in May, always, and it's going to be at 4:00. And so we want you there. I mean, and then y'all are going to just the house is going to come down. It's going to be so much fun.
Hey, will there be fried apple pies there?
Well, the Cowboy Church is going to be there.
No, I'm just meaning something good to eat, Southern wise.
I'll make you some fried peach pies. How about that?
Ooh, that's
we had
really
an abundance of peaches this year. I mean, the peaches are everywhere. So I dried some and I made some jam. Now that's if my husband doesn't have it all eat up before you get here.
Well, that's true. Just make some and put them in the freezer. I'm
gonna hide some of it. How about that? Let's do that. Okay, now folks have they've consistently requested the same song over and over again, and I love it. I can hear this song 50 times a day. I love the beat of it. And let's talk about that song. Now, you had a new one this past week.
Yeah, we sure did. Mm-hmm. That really shocked me in one way, because The Lord Will Provide is our title cut, and it's just been in the charts since day one almost. Not only at your radio station, in Canada we get calls, out in California we've gotten calls, Arizona, all parts in between, and of course Kentucky, Tennessee, Ohio. People love that song. I believe it's the message in the song that, Donna, that a lot of us are experiencing troubles and trials, or things that we're praying about, and it doesn't seem sometimes that we're getting heard, but just keep praying. The Lord will provide. Keep doing what you're doing. The Lord will provide. And I love that about the song. A lot of times we try to take the reins ourselves, and we try to do a little bit, and sometimes we just make a blunder, just like that song even talks about. But God's appointment comes through, and he provides the way of escape every time. And you mentioned that new song. I believe it's I Just Love That Good Old Gospel Singing. Man, I tell you what, it was an honor for me to put that on the album. That was recorded in 1970 by my dad and Oral and Brenda as the original Looper Trio, live in Dayton, Ohio, Memorial Hall. Not Memorial Hall, a church there rather, back then. And later on, we did a lot of Memorial Hall stuff. But in 1970, they recorded that. That was the very first, when they walked out on stage, that's what they started off with. Just exactly the way that I started off, without a kick much or anything. And that song has a good country tie-in. I don't know if many of your listeners know about that or not, But George Jones, Tammy Wynette, and Melba Montgomery, all three penned or authored or wrote that particular song.
Oh, I didn't know
And
that.
it's, yeah, so if you go back in time and you go back to those 1970 era days or late 60s, I gather, when George and Tammy worked together, they wrote this song. I just love that good old gospel music. Has a lot to say about the time of the era, but I'm telling you what, it's very real today as well.
Well, I got a question. Was George Jones on his lawnmower at that time when he was, he used to get on his lawnmower?
You forgot about my old John Deere. Yeah. So I don't think so. I think he was
Probably
in a
not
totally
during
different
that time.
state of mind. Exactly. I think
But
he'd been
Tammy
through a
Wynette
rough
is
harbor.
from Birmingham, from this area. So,
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I,
But he also had that song "Old Brush Arbor" by the side of the road. So, he might have been to a good old revival service and came home
never
and penned
know.
that. I don't know.
You
Yep,
never know. Yeah, Tammy
you
Wynette,
never know.
was actually founded by a guy named Country Boy Eddie. And Country Boy Eddie was kind of before his time. And it was a local show in Birmingham. And he actually found a lot of the good country greats. And it's just a
That,
little show. And it was just only in Birmingham, Alabama. And that's where she
wow, but
started.
ended up at Grand Ole Opry, I guess, at that point, right?
You just never know.
Well, Alabama is known for their country music artists or all their artists. I mean, Southern gospel music. Wow, a lot of the Southern gospel music bands and all types of music comes out of Alabama. I love Alabama, no doubt about it.
Oh, we do too. Bill Gaither was on the show, and he and I didn't really know each other at this time. So it was just kind of one of those, well, he's busy, I'm busy, and kind of things. And he says, I'll probably won't have it about 10 minutes. And I said, okay, that's fine, as long as we can get you on it. We're getting ready for their Christmas event that they always
Okay.
have, in Birmingham at Civic Center. And so I wanted to interview him and talk about that. So, and he was nice and everything. He was very cordial, but he just wasn't that open until I mentioned Vestal Goodman. And I said, by the way, you're in Vestal Goodman country right here. And he goes, Vestal? And I said, yes. I said, she's just my mother was friends with her sister. And, so, we're just all in the same boy. And I didn't think I was ever going to get rid of him then. It's like he just kept talking. He knew his investment.
I've got a Vestal story. She kissed me on the cheek one time when we were singing with them at the Knoxville, Tennessee, Knoxville Civics Auditorium.
Mm-hmm.
And we were riding the elevator from the parking garage beneath up to the level where the stage was. And she said, honey, are you that young man that was playing that beautiful steel guitar? And I said, I sure am, ma'am. And she said, you don't have to call me ma'am. You can call me Vestal. And she said, oh, I love that steel guitar. And before I knew it, she had kissed me on the cheek. I reminded her of that in 1994 when I was in their office at Crown label there at Green Hills, Tennessee. Their son, Rick Goodman, and I did a lot of business together. And so I designed a lot of the first jackets that were on the reunion tapes that are now the Bill Gaither tapes. But Rick Goodman started that whole process and that wheel to going. And they did a tribute for Rusty Goodman, his uncle, back then. And I did the jacket design and a lot of the editing of the video, that kind of thing back then. And I was sitting in their office, and here came walking in Howard and Vestal. And it was just a homecoming again. And I reminded her that she kissed me on the cheek, and she said, well, come over here and I'll kiss the other one. And so, and we just had a big laugh. They're just great. They were great people, as was their music. I was raised on the Happy Goodman family.
We were too.
As a lot of us were. But I can almost name you every song and every word to every song.
You remember that show she had, Jubilee, Gospel Jubilee, and her hair was like way up here, teased up. Like,
oh yeah.
I wonder the hair out of the car. I mean, when she got in the car, she had to be sitting down kind of like that, because that hair was like so high.
Yeah. What did they say about that? The higher the hair, the closer to God.
That movie, what you're talking about. Man, I'm gonna tell you what, I heard she can really enough about Vestal, but I wanted to say this one thing is she made the best. I heard she made the best coconut cakes. They said that. Oh, that's what they said. That's what I mean. Everybody talks about those cakes. I would
Yeah.
love to have had some of that. I wonder if there's a recipe floating around. Then I can make one when y'all come in May. I'll see if I
I
can
bet I
find
could
it.
make a I bet I could make a call or two and get our hands on one of those
Could you?
recipes.
Yeah.
I believe
Please
so.
see if you can do that because I'd
I'll
like to
put on
have that
my to-do list.
recipe.
Let me
Jot
see
it
here.
down. Write it down. Do that. So I'm excited about your music. I mean, I really am. And again, I just love the sound. And I don't even remember how you and I connected. Do you? It just feels like I've always known you.
I don't, and I've often thought about that. I don't know if we crossed paths somewhere through singing, or if it was through our Air Force side or something of that nature. Because I was at Squadron Officer College for a couple of years at Maxwell, and I lived in Prattville
Uh-huh.
there, so in that area, and so we was all the time through on I-59. I called it the Pity Pad Highway there for a while because your car was all the way for a little while. I'm sure that's fixed now, but that was
No,
years
it's
ago.
probably not. There's so many trucks and stuff that go through there. But now you guys have an awesome band. Let's talk about your other band members too. Now your wife's part of the band.
Yes, Renee, and she plays the keyboard. She plays the piano or keyboard. We have electronic keyboard, and she's on the. So first of all, our album that you listen to, if you order a CD, it's 8 pages pamphlet, and it has the word of every song that I wrote and everything that's in there, as well as our testimonies. You can go to danloopermountainsound.com and check out our bios and everything else as well. And I'm kind of running behind on some of the story content, but we'll get there. And then, Renee plays piano or keyboard. And so she does it on the album. Everything that you hear on the album is our band that you will hear live, except with the fiddle. And we hired a great gentleman out of North Carolina to help us there. But, and then our bass player is her brother, and that's my brother-in-law, Heath Cook. I know that some fellows down there in Fort Payne knows of those last names, Cooks, a few of them, or I know of Jeff and some of those guys. So Heath Cook is my brother-in-law. He's an awesome bass player, and he sings one of the songs on our album, "Lead Me Through." I think it's maybe track 9, if I'm thinking correct, or 8 one. And then David Haining is our lead guitarist. He's the only one's not related to us, but he might as well have been. We've all crossed paths since we were teenagers, literally. And whenever we hollered at him to come and join us on the band, why, he was right here, and we can't run him off now. And David plays the Telecasters and Stratocaster lead guitars on the album as well. And then Heath's son, my nephew, plays the drums, or a percussionist, and that's Heathy Cook. And it's Heath with a Y. He's a junior, but they just call him Heathy. He's 30-year-old now, so we got to come up with another way of calling him other than
something else.
Yeah. But I'm so proud of them. And then I do the pedal steel guitar and the acoustic lead and acoustic guitar and some dobro stuff and just a little bit of it, this, that, and the other. I'm an old utility picker. Throw something at me, I'll try to make it sound somewhere between a washboard and something in tune. But you know what? I'm really proud of our group, and I'm really proud of, more than their music ability, I'm proud of the life that they live before others. I really am.
Well, you know something, people sing, which is good, and there are some awesome singers, but then there are people who sing from the heart. And I mean, you can just, and I can hear it. I play piano, I play by ear. So I can hear things other people can't hear in music. I hear the heart. And if that makes any sense whatsoever.
Yes, it does. And it does, and I thank you for that. I hear a compliment.
It's a huge compliment.
We none of us know music. I heard a couple of orchestra guys that I used to listen to in secular music, and it kind of dumbfounded me once upon a time that one of them didn't know music. So all that he would do is compose. Well, that's what we do as well, but that's the way I was raised. we do chart out things with the Nashville numbering system now, but that's just conducive to anyone that does studio work. We try to do that. We map it out with numbers, that kind of thing. But other than that, we try to let our heart speak first, and we hope that the music just adds a little. My wife is an awesome cook, and whenever she, even though her maiden name was Cook, so I told her she's come by her name honestly there. And whenever she bakes a cake, it's really good. But whenever she puts just the right type of icing over top of everything, or pokes those holes in there and pours in this, that, and the other, and then puts that cream cheese icing on there or whatever it is, let me tell you, that's the icing on the cake. And that's the way I see it with our band and our group, is that we just try to sing from our heart. The gospel has to be heard in the message. The message in the song has to come across. Yeah, the beats are great, and yeah, the music's good, but if you can't hear the message, then what good is the gospel? And so we try to reverberate the message in song, the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Now, have you always sang gospel music?
Always. I've been challenged all my life. I started playing when I was 15-year-old pedal steel guitar, or that's when it was bought for me. I started when I was 16 on the road. And at age 17 half, 18-year-old, I was asked by 4 different very professional country music groups to join them. And I was still at home. And my dad, on one of them, I was really young, and he said, well, he better just stick with us for a while. Well, when I got to be about 18, it was my consideration, or at least Dad proposed it that way. But I had no desire. I knew I had been raised up in such a way that I felt like that I would be going against something that personal conviction here. I almost felt like that if I did something, then I could bring somehow or another, that talent might not be as sharp as it would be over the years. And so I stuck with the stuff. God saved me, gloriously saved me, and I wanted to use any talent that I had for him. So I've always just played gospel music. I've been asked to play on several albums or several commercials or whatever the case is over the years. I thank people greatly, and I really appreciate them liking my style, but I really stick with just gospel.
And you could. And I just wanted to say thank you for sticking with what you're doing right now. The payoff's much better.
Yeah, it is. It is. Somebody said, yeah, but this, that, and the other. And it is. I understand that. I mean, I really do. But God's been good to me. He's filled the gap. He's built the hedge around me so many times that I know where my blessings come from. And so it's just a personal conviction that I really enjoy and I'm a people person. I'm like you, Donna. I love meeting and greeting and talking with people. And what better way than to be at an old-fashioned singing somewhere where everybody is there to have a great time in the Lord.
That's what it's all about, because we're tired. And this is another thing, folks. I want to tell you, the ones that are the most unhappy are the people who sit and watch the news all the time. Stop doing that. I want to. You're gonna be in a grave really a lot sooner than you need to be if you continue doing that. So what do you say to folks? I mean, we're in a really strange world right now, if you've noticed that. I mean, it's out there. I mean, Pandora's box has been opened. And so every weird thing you can possibly think of is happening that we wouldn't have thought about 20 years ago or even 5 years ago. And it's like overload, and it's almost like a big snowball. It's just like something new comes out today, and it will. How can we overcome all that? How can we just let that go by the wayside and just keep tunnel vision?
You're asking me straight up, right? So the way that I like to do that, there's a couple verses that I always bring to memory. One of them is that we're in this world, but we're not of this world. So things are going to be effective toward us. Things are going to be thrown toward us. That does not mean that we have to go through that particular thing or even pay attention to the focus. Just like you mentioned, if you want to have a bad week, start your week off with about 90 minutes of news on a Monday morning or 60 minutes or just whatever. And if you do that repeatedly 2 or 3 days, you'll feel yourself sinking. I mean, I do. There's nothing really there that really complements anything. It's more about all the turmoil that's going on in everyone's life. And you're exactly right. There's things that are going on that you wouldn't have ever thought about, or I wouldn't have never thought about 5 years ago, and they're already here 10 years ago for sure. But as a Christian, we keep our focused. We keep our focus on God, on godly principles. There's a scripture that says, when you think on these things. And it begins to tell about 9 different things, I think it is. And all of those are just beautiful, positive things, happiness and joy, and just all the different things that you need to flood your life with. If you get yourself into a problem that maybe you feel like is a little bit more than you can bear, take it to Jesus in prayer. He says, cast all of your cares upon him, for he careth for you. And when you do that, you have someone that can help you bear that load. And matter of fact, once you cast something, you don't have a hold of it anymore. So don't go back and pick it back up. You gave it to Jesus. That's the good sound doctrine that I can give you, is that in these troublesome times, pray. And when you think you've prayed enough, pray more. And just keep praying and asking God to intercede and direct your path. He will direct your path if you're his sheep know his voice. And so if you listen closely, whenever you get that little unction of, well, maybe I should go and try this. Well, a good filter to run that through is would that be of God? And if it sounds like it's something that God would say, check mark, yep, I think you would be blessed by that. Go do that. It's better to give in any respect than to receive. And by giving, you'll get to receive. Let me tell you.
Absolutely. And it's the best you can get. We have 1 minute and 4 seconds left. How can you find your music? I told you time flies.
Yeah. Wow. So what was your question?
How can folks find your music? And what's next? Real quick.
What's next?
Mm-hmm.
On the album, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, we are actually planning already to go back into the studio again, but we have plenty of great songs on our latest album, which is The Lord Will Provide by Dan Looper and Mountain Sound. You can get that if you go to www.danlooperandmountainsound.com. Just spell it all out, one word. And on there, we have a information page. We have a page where you can order the CD or a thumb drive. You know, a lot of cars don't have CD players no more. So just order a thumb drive or download it on any one of the medias that are out there. Amazon, YouTube, you name it, Apple, iTunes, it's there. Spotify,
and I can
it's there.
find
I said, God, you gotta move this mountain. I just don't see it